Welcome to Cashless Savannah, episode 17. Chandler, how did we get to 17 episodes? It's crazy.
I don't know. It's gonna be at 100 before we know it.
I hope so. Chandler, I want you to know I wore a shirt for you today. Look,
I like it.
I know
I'm
you
wearing the
know this
goat.
team. Okay,
I have,
you got Tom Brady.
I'm
You're
good.
doing football.
He's the goat in football.
He is the GOAT. Well, could we say that the Savannah Sandgnats were the GOAT of farm teams back in
Mm,
the day?
maybe if they were,
For
I think they'd still be there today.
I wish. I do miss the Savannah Sandnets.
They
My
should-
shirt ages me. My children tell me when I wear it that I look like an antique because the Savannah Sandnets do not exist any longer. They have, I think they moved to Charleston and became something else. They used to be a farm team of the Mets.
Butterflies.
That's right. That's it. And then now they have been replaced with the fabulous and very famous Savannah Bananas. I do not own a Savannah Banana shirt, and I actually refuse to wear one as a true baseball fan, but I am a true Savannah Sandnats wearer. So we have a wonderful, if anyone's interested, we're going to talk baseball for a minute, Chandler. I know you're always down for that, but we actually have a historic baseball stadium in Savannah. Pretty much everything is historic, including myself. And it's called Grayson Stadium. Chandler, how many times did you play at Grayson Stadium? I'm sure you played there.
A handful of times that I played there. I think my first game senior year in high school we got to play there, but even before that we played there a good bit. I actually did while I was going through the draft process, we needed a place to do like private workouts,
Cool.
and I'd pick Grayson Stadium to go
Yeah.
do private workouts because I knew a guy that can get me in, and that's where I would go. So it's pretty cool.
Wouldn't you agree that Grayson Stadium is very special? Like it's kind of an honor to get to play there, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, it is, and it's really nice. It has that like kind of charming look. It's brick, and I wish they would keep up with the field a little bit better because it used to be a really nice field.
Really?
Um, but now it's kind of they don't spend too much money on the field. But yeah, it's a pretty cool place.
It is. Grayson Stadium is, for those of you interested, it's inside Daffin Park. Savannah is the only city in the world created around 26, they call them parks, and they're squares. And so Daffin Park is one of the largest, if not the largest, park that we have. And inside it, they have pickleball, tennis, I don't even know what, but also Grayson Stadium. So whenever there's a big baseball game, we go there. My son, Josh, and Jacob too, both of my children played at Grayson Stadium. I really wanted Josh to hit one over the fence at Grayson and have that, to know that he had done that. And unfortunately didn't get to, but he did play there many times. I have so many great memories from Grayson Stadium. So I'm wearing my Sand Nets shirt in honor of the beautiful Daffin Park and Grayson Stadium for anyone interested. So
Yeah, go check out the Savannah Bananas. They're
Savannah Bananas.
very interesting. My grandma is a dancing nana out there, so you'll get to see her. But it
Awesome.
brings a lot into Savannah. It's not baseball really, but it's a fun little atmosphere.
It's kind of baseball-tainment, I would say.
I call it and I'm not hating on it at all. I have a couple buddies that play there. Um it's kind of like what's the basketball team?
Harlem Globetrotters.
Very similar to that. Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of trick plays. Something's going on at all times.
It's something you have to see once, in my opinion. And if
Yeah,
anyone's coming to Savannah, we'll get you tickets. Let us know. They're hard to come by, but we'll get the hookup. But yeah, you got to go once. But if you're a true baseball fan, once is pretty good. You're like, yeah, I want to see, the real deal, but it's a lot
you
of
could
fun.
say, hey, Tony.
Yeah,
So
exactly. But we actually are here to talk about real estate, not just Daffin Park. And so we have a great topic today. And it's near and dear to my heart because I deal with it quite frequently. But our topic today is how to choose the right real estate agent. I know you've worked with many in your time, Chandler, and if you're going to be in this business for very long, you're going to interact with a bunch.
mhm.
Um, so I've had this situation come up many times. Of course, Chandler and I are both property managers. We work at Sidwas here. Our specialty is short-term rentals. We know furnished rentals. We know the laws. We understand how it works. We're in it every day. And then I'm an agent here in Savannah. So it's very natural that I do attract a good bit of people looking to buy a short-term rental because I know the industry so well, being on the property management side, and I own a few myself, So that's, but one thing that has come up several times has been where Chandler and I get approached as property managers to manage a property, and the person bought the home not really, and they didn't have the correct agent. And because they didn't understand the laws and what they were doing, they ended up buying the wrong property for the right strategy, if that makes sense. There's a home that we manage right now that was purchased, and it's just it's not a great neighborhood, for a furnished rental. And we've been able to make it work. And the owner had to kind of put in some extra money that they weren't planning on, but they didn't have the right representation. So I had a situation this weekend, Chandler, which I haven't had a chance to tell you about, but we had a owner contact Sid was here, wanting management. And I said, of course, I'm happy to talk to you. And then the owner mentioned the area. And I said, do you mind if I ask you the zip code where your short-term rental is located? She kept telling me she had this short-term rental that was coming. And she didn't say. And I said, well, is it in the zip code 31401? And she said, no. And I said, well, what zip code is it? And she said 31404. And I said, Miss Owner, I said, I'm so sorry, but you won't be able to have a short-term rental there. It's illegal. And she said, no, it's not. And I said, yes, ma'am, it is illegal. I know this town like the back of my hand. I'm in the 404 every day. I love the 31404, as do you, Chandler. And she argued with me. She said, oh, no, there are 2 short-term rentals right down the street from the house that I just purchased. And I'm here to inform the listener, if you are doing your research on buying a short-term rental in any market, going to Airbnb and seeing 1 or 2 down the street is not research. Like, it is so important to understand the laws. And I'm constantly amazed at people that will go into a city and spend, they're signing away hundreds of thousands of dollars on an investment. Don't spend that money unless you really know that property is going to work for the investment strategy that you want to do. What are your thoughts on this, Chandler? Am I crazy?
It's not crazy at all. And I'll tell you, Savannah does catch these people.
Mhm.
We've seen it happen. So don't, even if they do have a short-term rental in the area that's not supposed to be a short-term rental, Savannah finds a way to do it. And I'm pretty sure they're cracking down even harder on it now. Didn't we get an email about that? So
Yeah.
you might get away with it for a little bit, but it won't be forever.
And the fines start at $1,500. They're paying guys to find these and seek them out. They don't, Savannah's had regulation for a long time. This is not new. Okay. But if you're dealing with an agent that really understands what you're going to do with the home, it's very important to be honest. I always say, be very honest with your real estate agent and be extremely honest with your insurance broker. The worst thing you can do is lie to your insurance broker. Say you're going to do one thing with a property and then do another, and then something happens and they're like, we aren't paying, and this is really the same instance where it's like, oh, I didn't bother to educate myself or make sure that my agent was educated, or both, best case scenario, both. So, this owner did contact me back and they said, yep, you're right. I've got a 30-day rental on my hands. And I said, that's okay. It's a great market for that. But I hated that I had to be the one to tell this person, that it wasn't the right house for the strategy that they thought they had bought it for.
Yeah, for sure. One thing I kind of always do is I don't really listen to people that haven't done it already. I have a hard time. That's one thing I do. Like, even if somebody's trying to teach me golf and they've never played golf before, I'm not going to listen to them. I go listen to Tiger Woods. So that's one thing I would kind of suggest is ask the agent, hey, do you have investment properties? And if they say no, I would probably not use them. I'm not trying to. I want to use somebody that's done it.
I agree. I've had clients tell me that they had used a different agent previous. They didn't want to put in a low offer. they just didn't really even understand investing. And that's a problem, because you need to know your numbers. You want your agent to understand, yes, this is what I will do with it, and these are the numbers I'm going for. And if they really understand that, it's much easier for them to match you with a property that goes with your goals, instead of you having to do all the legwork. You're basically getting a professional for free. The buyer's agent is paid for by the seller of the property. So if you can get someone with a lot of experience that really understands the strategy that you're going after, that's a free expert that's in your corner. Okay. That is their entire job, is to protect you. But if they really don't understand it themselves, they're going to go find you a pretty house in a pretty neighborhood, and they think they've done a great job. They're not bad people. But again, that comes down to your research. If I were going to go buy a horse ranch, I wouldn't, sorry, Chandler, I wouldn't ask you to represent me. I don't know that you've ever bought a horse ranch, right? Like, that's a kind of a dumb idea, even though you're my friend. But a lot of people will do that. Oh, well, my buddy Joe's an agent, I'll use Joe. Does Joe invest in real estate? Does Joe do short-term rentals? Does Joe understand cap rates and, rent rolls and things like that? Be careful. It's a lot of money.
Yeah, no, I have a buddy right now. He's wanting to house hack, and they're like, "Oh, we got an agent that we know," and I know the agent, and she sells very nice residential. And I know, like, house hacking, like, you're not going to go in and buy this very nice residential housing. You got to understand it's going to be a duplex or a little mother-in-law suite in the back, and some agents will like talk you out of it, like, "Oh, you really want somebody to like live behind you?" Or and they're gonna like sit there and say all these scenarios and like this bad stuff to like talk you out of a deal. And I tell my buddy, I'm just like, I don't know, like, go find someone that knows how to do house hacking, that's done it, and can kind of talk you through it instead of talking you out of it.
Very true. There are a lot of naysayers out there. Like you said, do you really want to plunge a toilet at 2 a.m.?
Yeah, yeah. That's
Eh,
exactly, agents do it all the time.
Yeah, because and they're just coming from what they know. Okay. I'm not an expert in other things, and I hopefully am not out talking about them. I mean, that's kind of what it comes down to, is finding someone that's in your area of expertise, or that's hopefully they're 10 miles ahead of you, right? Like, that's the
Yeah,
most valuable person to you, is to find someone that's way ahead of you, and they're going to bring you with them. So they really speed up the process.
yeah, no doubt. And if there's somebody that's wanting to educate themselves about it, like, maybe not use them, but like let them walk through the whole process with you. Um, yeah, and I'm not saying anything bad about the agent that my buddy's using. If you want to go buy a residential, use that agent for sure. But for like an investment property, and I know they haven't done it,
Mhm.
let's go find somebody that understands it.
Well, and two, if you're going to use, an agent that doesn't have the knowledge, then you need to bring that knowledge yourself, if that makes sense. That makes the onus even more on you to do your own research and pull your own numbers and know exactly what you want. And frankly, that's what I had to do when I was getting started. I didn't have, an agent that was 20 years ahead of me. I wished I did. And I made mistakes, but I very quickly learned exactly what I wanted, and I would drive every property. I wouldn't even set up a showing until I drove a property, because it bothered me, because I'd want to see 3 or 4 properties. But then if I was wasting her time, I felt bad. And she didn't ever really quite get what I was doing. She probably still doesn't, and that's okay. But I educated myself to make up for that lack. And then I tried to just use her for what she was really good at. And then, I didn't take up too much of her time, because I knew she wasn't educated on the process, and it was fine. But that the onus becomes on the buyer then to educate themselves. That's really important.
Yeah, no doubt. I agree with that. Yeah, I just a lot of it is, oh, they're my buddy and they won't charge me or something, and I'm like, I'd rather spend money because this is hundreds of thousands of dollars you're talking about. I'd rather spend a couple thousand for someone that knows what they're doing.
Right. Well, and we see it with property management, as well. We've managed furnished rentals at Sid was here. We've been doing it for years. We've got our systems, we've got our 24/7 support staff for the guests. These things are not free. And so I've talked to people that are like, well, but there's a long-term rental manager that can do manage the house for way less or whatever, cut rate. We see this all the time. And I'm like, okay, you can, as the investor, you can do what you want, but they don't really understand the furnished rental space. They're not an expert in this investment strategy. So can they get a tenant? Yes. Do they know how to keep a tenant, enroll tenants, and do turnovers and all the customer service and all the dynamic pricing and all the things that go into furnished rental management? Probably not. So you kind of get what you pay for there. And I think that's an important concept. You've got an expert versus someone that's going to do it at a discounted rate with a discounted level of knowledge.
Yeah, no doubt. And a lot of like property managers do this because, oh, it's an easy kind of side thing. And like we put in the work every single day, like studying like what's going on. We're going to meetings, like, hey, like what's the market doing? Um, Find somebody that understands like and puts in the work, because a lot of it is they'll get your house set up and then it's just automated. If it doesn't book, it doesn't book. Um, so find somebody that's going to put in the work and actually kind of keep your properties up to standard. And if pricing needs to go down, they're lowering the price. We use dynamic pricing, but you still have to look at it in this market, um, to kind of like know where your pricing is. Like prices are going down now, it seems like. So we're having to kind of pivot towards that.
Very true. And short-term rentals are very much a tech space. A lot of people don't realize how much technology is involved in really managing them appropriately. And you've got to have guest messaging and all kind of stuff. It's incredible. The trash has to go out, for example. Okay. Like a long-term tenant, you're gonna be like, Betty and Joe, trash is Thursday. Good luck. I'll see you in a year. Short-term rentals, who's taking the can to the curb? Who's bringing it back? These are things that can be automated if you have the right system. Sometimes it's us, sometimes it's the guest. Like, I can't even tell you how many little things go into furnished rental management because it's got to be managed appropriately. And so someone that's used to talking to the tenant once a year, they don't know, they just don't know. It's not that they're bad people. They just don't really understand all the ins and outs involved. So always
Yeah,
choose your experts wisely.
for sure. Either get a someone that's 10 years ahead of you, or you be the expert
Right.
uh, before going into that kind of stuff. So I feel bad for that lady though. I wish there was a better agent out there that would have told her.
Yeah, I feel bad too. She'll do well with a month-to-month rental. Honestly, I went through the numbers with her, and I think she'll be fine. I hated to be the one to say that, and she didn't believe me. And I was like, okay, no problem. You know, just
That's
reach
a tough
out, let me
surprise for
know.
her into. That's a tough surprise.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, it is so much money to and stress and effort to find the right property, close on it. She's begun the furnishing process. And then to just get punched in the nose like that, I can't imagine. And I felt very bad for that property owner. I really did, even though I think ultimately they'll be fine, but it was just a tough conversation to have. I didn't like being the one on the other end with bad news. I mean, I like to give good news.
Yeah, agents, get it together.
Well, yeah. I mean, have you ever bought and sold a short-term rental? Do you have one yourself? Can you tell me about the laws in the area? Just ask
Yeah,
basic questions about the strategy. Like if you wanted to be a long-term rental or a flip is a great example. Have you ever flipped a property? Do you work with flippers? What kind of cap rates are you seeing? What kind of returns are you seeing? Just see how, just probing a few questions. And if they go but
yeah,
I mean, I know many agents that work with flippers and they're fantastic, and they aren't flippers themselves. They don't own investment real estate themselves. I've asked them if they do, and they said no, that's okay. But they've done it enough. They really understand the process. They don't actually have to be an investor. I want to be clear on that. But you want them to understand it's all about that spread between the purchase price and the sales price. Like that is crucial. You don't care what furnished rentals are doing. You don't care what the long-term rent numbers. It's ARV. That's a whole different calculation.
yeah. What I run into a lot is, oh, so many agents. Well, like we've been through some properties that just just doesn't scare us anymore. For a lot of agents, I talk to them, and they'll be like friends or somebody, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, you're buying that, or you want to buy that?" And I'm like, "Heck yeah!" And if they're like that, I would run from them personally because you just can't get that out of their head. Like, hey, like it's fixable. Like I can pull that out and put a new sheetrock in or whatever.
Right.
Um, I feel like a lot of them are like that though. Or you're not. You love that kind of stuff.
I'm an investor, so I think
Yeah,
like one. But
yeah.
I call them Barbie's Dream House agents. They love to see and show Barbie's Dream House. And trust me, they make way better money than me. Like clearly I am the dummy in this scenario. Okay. Seriously, like I'm going after the $85,000 houses and they're selling the $850,000 houses.
No,
We're commission based. Like who's the smarter person? Barbie's Dream House agent is smarter. But who loves what they're doing? Me. So you got to stick with what you know. But you're right. There's only one photo. Boy, I go hard for listings with one photo. What does that mean, Chandler, when you see one photo? I know you know.
that agent. So
Well, yes, but the inside, it's a horrendous. I
yeah,
mean, they're basically saying, I can't show you what's inside. So,
they're trying to hide something for sure.
yeah, yep.
So
And that's what we go hard for is the worse, the uglier the property, the more lipstick it needs, the more I go after it because that's a good deal. I want a good deal
yeah,
ultimately. If
no
you're in
doubt.
it to make money, you want a good deal.
Well, Julie, how can people reach out to you if they want you to be your agent?
Well, I would love that. You can always find Chandler and myself at sidwashere.com. We're all over social media, Sid was here 912. But yes, anytime if you're an investor and you're looking for investment real estate in the Savannah area, I would love to be of service. And Chandler will very soon be of service to you as well. But also for property management, like we are investors and we love to work with other investors. So we very proudly are 10 years ahead on a lot of these things. So, and if not us, there are so many other qualified people here in Savannah, but we just want to encourage everyone to just really choose your experts wisely. And if you don't, be sure to do your own research like that. I just can't say that enough because I don't want you or anyone to close on a property and then get punched in the nose. That was really tough. So
Yeah, and
that's always
one thing about you is you'll kind of like let your investors know because most agents are like they got to get that commission check. To where you're not like that hungry for a commission check. If you actually want to help investors, and if like they don't get the property, they don't get the property. Hey, we'll move on. And even if you're running numbers, you're kind of like, I don't know. You really walk them through and tell them, hey, I don't know if this is a good idea. And
Mhm.
you're just straight up honest with them. You're not trying to push them like, hey, get this, get this, get this. Or I feel like a lot of people would, and it's not even a good deal.
I have a different view on it. I can't even say this enough. Every buyer to me, I want them to buy 6 or 7 more. It's not about one Barbie's Dream House transaction. You understand? So if all I cared about was closing that one transaction, then I'm good. I'm crazy. But the more money the investor makes and the happier they are, the more likely they're going to come back and say, hey, Julie, let's do another one. And I'm very proud to say we have a lot of repeat clients, that they keep going. So I'm honest with everyone with my opinion. And then it's ultimately up to the buyer. Everyone has their own calculus. Honestly, Chandler, I have a few buyers that are a little too conservative and they're killing me because they'll make 20 offers and they're still not, they'll miss it by 2,000-3,000 and I'll go just come up a couple of thousand and I know you'll get this and nope. So we have all types, but I think, at the end of the day, we need to all look ourselves in the mirror and be honest, with our opinion and our expertise, and then it's on the buyer. So if I tell someone, hey, I don't think this neighborhood is good for a furnished rental and they buy it anyway, that's okay. But at least I said that, I gave them my opinion based on the strategy, and then it's up to them what they do with it. Of course, things are changing so much here. I rarely say that. Sometimes if it's a tougher neighborhood, I'll say, I would rent this for a couple of years because when I see everything that's getting flipped on the street, very soon it won't, freak
Yeah,
people out. But again, that's me being honest and saying this will work really great as a long-term rental, and then let's furnish it in a year and you'll do fantastic. That's also not a bad strategy.
yeah. Whether they buy it or not is not kind of up to you, but like you at least told them, hey, it might not be the best area or it's a rental neighborhood. Kind of like we had those guys that they didn't even know it was a terrible area.
Yeah.
So at least you tell them.
Yeah, that's important. Well, and Chandler, I mean, you and I looked at some teepees once. It is on our Instagram. And we were both excited about it because we like weird stuff that we can short-term rent. And we drove off and I said, Chandler, I hate it. And I felt bad saying that to you as your agent. I felt bad, but I did. I had to be honest with you.
It's still up for sale.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's still up. So
If
you want
anyone
something
is
with
interested,
so
yep. Sid was here 912. We did a whole thing about it on Instagram. And Chandler and I we argued a little bit because Chandler really likes the glamping. And I do as well. I'm not opposed to glamping. But when I really looked at the property and I spent some time there and I was like, I hate it.
it
And I
needs
had to tell you that.
it needed there's I feel like glamping's a totally different world. That's
Yeah.
I don't know if that's even that's a business that you're gonna be spending a ton of time in that I mean it's a risk worth high reward, but
Right.
you don't so I
I
don't know
hope
if
you
that
know though, had you bought those TPs, I would have had your back 1,000%. Like I really would have. I support you, whatever you do. You're so smart about all this. But I remember getting in the car and being like, I cannot consciously say, yay. I wanted to.
I mean, even after I saw it, I couldn't even do that either. I mean,
Yeah.
I was like, man,
I was worried you were going to be upset because I knew you were very excited about these TPs. I mean, it was a set up. What was it? 4 TPs? 3, 4, 5?
it was 4 big old teepees, but they needed, I mean, the rocks, it was rocks on the ground and not even like, uh, everything was set up. You just have to do a lot of work to get it going.
A lot of work. And
And there's bugs. You got to
looking
think
at it,
about bugs and weather and all that kind of
right.
stuff. So,
And looking at the photos, it makes you want to book it and go, yeah, I'd love to stay there. Like it excited me to look at the photos. I was so excited. And spending, even being there, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes, I was like, I'm ready to go. I don't
mhm,
want to sleep here.
yeah,
It's
I
funny
would.
how, yeah, sometimes you have to think as an investor, which when I was looking at the photos and crunching numbers, I was like, yes, this is a good purchase price. It's a good area. It's coastal Georgia. We can make the money. And then when I get there and I'm thinking it as a guest, I was like, I hate it.
No doubt.
Oh,
That's a different world. That was something we looked at and moved on from that one.
yeah, but it was fun. And anyway, we learned something. I think we actually learned a good bit off of that. So,
It did. And it's for
yeah.
sale. I'm probably gonna make half an offer on it now. Maybe they'll take it.
That's true.
Anyway,
25 G's.
we appreciate y'all coming on and listening today. Please like, comment, subscribe, share, tell everyone and your grandma about our podcast. And we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.